greet everybody here. And we do a lot of performances because today, as a dancer, we are at a, I don't know how to say it, but we are at a dilemma because we are part of the entertainment section. So we don't know whether we are people who are supposed to spiritually transcend the audience into a different state of being, or we are supposed to be mere entertainers. By saying this, today I mean that I'm extremely happy to dance here today. Because this setting, the people here, are not watching dance for entertainment. For each one of you here, dance is something which is beyond entertainment, beyond the beautiful dancer category that we look at. And hence it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm thankful to all of you being here to let me share with you this beautiful feeling, the ecstatic feeling that I have when I dance. There's nothing else in this world that can ever give me that same kind of a euphoric feeling when you at times outlive your body, when at times you're so limited by your body. And yet, it all comes together to create something which is so beautiful, which is simply said, if for the need of a word, as dance. I am trained in classical Indian dance. And in the last 16 years, I have worked on transcending the physical dance and leading into a spiritual state, which actually led me to the thought and the philosophy of Sufism. I was drawn to it, I worked on it, I traveled to Central Asian countries like Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan. Frankly, I didn't even know how to spell them, but I went to those countries because I realized that that is from where the Sufi traditions traversed and came to our subcontinent. And I was amazed to find that there were spontaneous dances, but no structured dance associated with Sufism. Except for the whirling dervishes, which you see in Turkey, which is a structured dance associated with Sufism. But all of this belt, the Central Asian region, also coming to India, had spontaneous dances, which were an ecstatic dance. When you came into a state of ecstasy, you danced. What it was, how the hands were, tilt of the neck, feet movement, have never been recorded or documented. They're just by word of mouth. So it was quite a task to visit most of the Sufi shrines and try and seek people who knew things. There were times when I would go to a Sufi shrine and somebody would tell me, oh, this is a movement which Baba Bulle Shah used to take, okay, that came into my grammar, that became part of my dance. Now if somebody questions me, would say, oh, somebody sitting at a shrine told you and you documented that as a fact. But what are facts made of, if not these things? So I take it that if you're seeking, you're trying to find something, it comes to you. It comes to you through people, through the various ways, now through Google, but it comes to you. Today what I would be presenting to you is part of the Indian traditions, yet it has an appeal to it which is not limited to the dance of the form. In India, the gods are defined by a form. I don't know the count, but we have lakhs of gods. And the dances are structured towards the god. So when you dance, you show the structure of a god. If you show a flute, everybody knows that this is a dance for Krishna. So the structure is formulated in such a way that you tell a story of certain gods, their works, their lives, messages from them. What my dance incorporates is the messages that the Sufi saints wrote. Now that comes under the category, if we categorize it as the formlessness. Now there, the God doesn't have a form. It can take the shape you want it to take. There are saints who saw God in their teachers, the masters. They treated them as God. For them that was God. So it left a lot of space for people to relate to the Almighty in a way they wanted. And dance and music became a part of it. And hence dance in India forms a very integral part of the, if I may say, religious traditions also and spiritual traditions also. Temple dances were part of the religious traditions, where a dance was considered an integral way of talking to the Almighty. And that developed in India as a whole structure of different dance forms from different parts of the country, which became dedicated to telling stories about gods. So, there were innumerable stories about them. Nowadays, what we find is, because the audience is changing, there are no longer dances happening in temples or the shrines. Dances are not allowed there. They happen on concerts, on stage, in different settings. So there are modernistic themes which are coming into the dance format. In the last 16 years of my work, basically which is associated with the spiritual tradition, and if I may say tilting towards the Sufi thought, that's what I have worked on for a long time. I have worked with different set of music forms from Iran, from Pakistan, from Kashmir, from Rajasthan, from Qawwali. Then there is Punjabi Sufi poetry, then there's classical music. There's a whole wide range of concepts which are there, on which I have choreographed and worked the dance which suits that. Today I shall be presenting two sequences, but since it's a gathering of dancers, I will show a very short film because I can't show everything in half an hour today. So I have selected just two pieces which I will be sharing with you. I would showcase you a short film which would show different, like I said, the dance to Irani music would be different. The dance to classical music is different. When it is to a Qawwali, another spiritual music form, the structure changes. So can we have the video? The dancer, the dance Sufi Kathak, a new dance form created by Manjari Chaturvedi, a historical step in the field of performing arts. Sufi Kathak, a spiritual exploration of dance, evocative, mystique, a quest, breaking boundaries, connecting hearts. Sufi Kathak. It almost takes the shape of a bird and how it outlives itself, and then suddenly it becomes contained back into the body. I would present this to you Shinjiku, can we have the music? Track 4.
Dancer uses the space around her to create movement and non-movement, which forms the language of the body, leading to the dance of the formless. The movements create a meditative state for both the dancer and the audience to be in. The movement of the dance symbolically represents the effortless flight of the bird, how the bird, as it raises itself from the ground, it starts to negate its own body weight and assumes itself as weightless when in air. In Sufi Kathak, when the dancer enters into a meditating phase, the body is merely an object used by the soul to liberate itself and dance. Thus the body and rhythm coming to the aid of the dancer to explore the space around her. The use of music is minimal, with an accompanying flute to help the dancer align her mind and lead her into that meditative space. The music leads on to few lines in Persian. Na'az khakam, na'az abam, na'az badam, na'az atash. I'm neither of earth nor water, neither of wind nor fire. Na'az dunya, na'az ukba, na'az jannat, na'az duzak. Na'az Adam, na'az Hawa, na'az Firdaus Rizwana. I'm not of this world nor the next, not of heaven nor hell. I am neither a man nor a woman. Chiman Kudra Namidana. I do not know who I am. The above lines deconstruct reality as known to us. The poet refuses to accept assumed realities known by mankind to question his being. The categories and references of this world are all named and created by man. The poet rejects the notion of life and world. These distinctions are not made by the Almighty, and therefore the poet finds himself placeless and traceless. The dancer uses mime and gestures to explain the poetry without breaking the meditative mode of the dance. This composition is sung by traditional Sufi musicians from Iran with an accompanying Indian flute.
This was said to the Persian Sufi music, which is rhythm and singing, which is very close to what is in India. The language was different, but the message was same. The other section that I would now show you is a dance which is structured to the Punjabi Sufi music, which we call it. It is a beautiful composition. Words do become the messengers. That's how we reach out the message. In this particular composition, the word says, Mahaba Rams Sajan Sajan Ki Ho, which essentially means that somehow, even when I don't know which way, even when I consciously don't do it, I'm drawn towards you. Sajan is the beloved. I can't help it. I'm somehow drawn towards you. And how beautiful is that? So he says, Vah vah ram su sajan di bhor. Now, the path that I'm drawn towards the beloved, it's so mystical that I don't even know what path to follow. I'm just letting myself flow and just reach him. At one place, very interestingly, the poet says, Sanu miliya thag lahor. I somehow feel that the sum of the whole composition comes into this. Because this person says, I was going my way, whatever way we are supposed to live and follow. What is it my fault if I found? Thug is a very Indian word which, how would you translate that?
Sure.
You can't call it a thief because thief is
A rascal.
a good thief, you could say that. So what is it my fault? That if I found him on the way, now I can only follow him. I have no other way. So that's a beautiful way of, how you surrender yourself. And hence when the dance is structured in this, the dance is, yes, it does follow a structured format, but at places it has to be that unstructured dance where, you don't know why you're following a person, but you're so drawn to that person that you can't think of anything else other than just to do what he says. And that is the love and surrender which is talked about in this particular poetry.
Unite
Both the ball is below
authenticity
his
with
feet
beauty
and dancing.
in selecting my movements, and to discover how renowned Sufi saints of yesteryears danced in their love for the Almighty. The chanted recitation of poetry in Sufi circles has known to be accompanied by physical motions ranging from spontaneous trance movement to measured ritual gestures. Texts also refer to stamping the feet, probably in time to the music, clapping the hands, and turning. I present a circular dance in concentric circles, following the philosophy of the Sufi thought, which depicts circular moving meditation. Usually dancers would try and create more and more movements within the same time frame. Here, the unique feature is the use of repetitive movement following the repetitive sound. The use of repeated sound creates similar continuous energy around. In the same way, the dancer uses the space around herself to create repeated body patterns, which in turn form a trance-like dance. The movements follow a rhythmic pattern. The voice creates different vocal patterns using the single word. The movements remain circular and concentric, keeping in mind a convolution created by the body to represent the repeated nature of music. This composition is sung by traditional Sufi singers, the Manganiyars from Rajasthan, from the desert of India.
Thank you. Ram
Dear beloved, somehow, if we see in the Indian traditions, most of the Sufi saints have been men. Poets have been men. But whenever they have written about surrender or love, it's always been from the perspective of a woman. So somehow, they had to tap their femininity to be able to surrender. I find it very intriguing that when in spiritual traditions, women were kept away from them, still, femininity was overpowering. When Bulle Shah writes for love for the master, it's love from the perspective of a woman, how she would surrender to the beloved, and so beautifully expressed. I'm sorry, I couldn't translate all the words, but I thought that would be too much coming into in between the dance. So I finish my dance with this, and as much as I would say that this could have been a presentation, but for me, dancing is a forever joy. Whether I dance in my studio, whether I dance here, whether I dance on stage, to entertain people, I'm in bliss because I'm dancing. And I know most of you, all of you would understand this. Yeah. Thank you so much.